broadcasting to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of South Carolina. So apologies for the car video and for the dust bunnies blowing around. I desperately need to clean my car. I had hoped to do a trail video today, to go out on the trail, and it's raining, so we may get some downpours as we meet here. And as people check in, we'll see how bad the audio is. If the audio is real bad, then we'll just call it a day. But we'll give it a try here. We're getting into. Hang on one second, guys. I'm actually getting a call in the background. Interesting. Hey, welcome. I see a couple people popped in. So I had tried to, let me shift gears on that for a second. Sorry. This was not what I planned, but we are going to get to the topic, I promise. With the summertime heat coming in and we're at these lunchtime chats, it's kind of hard. I'm not afraid of getting sweaty. In fact, on the weekends I do, I'll work outdoors in the yard for 4 hours, 5 hours, 95-degree heat, hit the trails, whatever. But these lunchtime chats, I actually have to go back into the building, so I don't want to get too sweated up. So I may end up doing some car videos for the summertime while the summer heat is here. We'll see. Considering my options. So let's talk a little bit about the channel while we're waiting for people to pop in. So this is YouTube channel Prepping with Sarge. If you're brand new to the channel, I talk about things for preparedness, survival, wilderness survival, food self-sufficiency, financial preparedness, basically anything that's going to help you to be a little bit more prepared for tough times ahead, right? And today I'm going to be talking about what to do when the horde comes to your house. Now, I'm going to give people a few more minutes to pop in here because I usually start at 12:15 or so. These lunchtime chats are kind of sporadic because it's like when can I get out of the building? But we're going to give people a chance to pop in, and I'll talk about some other stuff while we're waiting. So if you're a YouTube content creator, I got a little bit of news here that I think you might be interested in. If you haven't noticed, or maybe you have, actually, you know what? When you're watching this on replay, comment and let me know if you have noticed. Sometimes your likes are disappearing. And how I noticed this was I would watch one of my friends' videos or somebody that I liked, and I'd watch it in full, leave a comment about the video, smash that like button, and then go and watch something else. And then I'd think of something. This is how I discovered it. I'd think of something that I wanted to say, and I'd go back to that video, and lo and behold, my like was gone and my comment was gone. Now, I noticed this on a few of you who are regular viewers. I may have commented on your channel like, hey, I'm leaving you comments and they're disappearing. So I've noticed this on more than one occasion, and I've heard from other people that this is happening too. Something's wrong with the platform. Something's wrong, and this has happened before. There's been entire days where YouTube's not crediting people an entire day's worth of views. Now, they usually go back and fix it. But whatever it is, something's happening. It's taking people's likes out, it's taking people's comments out, and it's really frustrating. So I'd like to hear from you if you're watching this on recap in the comments. Let me know if you're seeing this as well. A couple other things that I noticed. So then I started kind of checking it, and thank you to whoever just gave me that like. Then I started checking some other things and like telling people, hey, like I'm leaving you a comment and it's not showing up, things like that. So there's a lot of this is done behind the scenes through like AI. The AI is trying to detect like false engagement, things like that. And by the way, if you guys are chatting, I'm not seeing it for some reason. It's just there's something's acting up today. Let me try one thing here. Let's see. There we go. Okay. I got Bayou City image. All right. Thank you. Sometimes when I do these live streams too, weird things happen like that, and all of a sudden you can't see the chat. But hey, Sarge. So right now, before I get into the main topic, I was just kind of talking about how there's something wonky is going on with the platform again. It's not giving you credit. So another thing that I noticed here. So then, I am the type of person like I pay attention to numbers. I've got this weird thing about numbers, and so I usually sometimes I'll know a particular video about how many views I had, right? And I'm always looking at my analytics and things like that. And one of my friends told me, hey, I really enjoyed your playlist on the knife reviews last night. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, you watched it last night? And she said, yeah, I watched the whole thing. So I said, okay, my numbers were the same. Like they hadn't gone up in like 3 days. And so I said, that's really weird. And she's a content creator too. So I said, let me test something. I said, let's pick a playlist of yours. Let's pick a video that hasn't been watched in a long time. I want you to write down the number. And I watched that playlist for her that night. And the next day she checked it and she's not. And she checked it 3 days later because I know there's a 48-hour lag. I know some of you are saying, well, there's a 48-hour lag. Yeah, we know that. She checked it 3 days later, 4 days later, never got credit for that view. So something wonky is going on with YouTube's platform. They're not giving people credit for the hours watched, the time watched, the likes, even things are disappearing. I've tried to tell them on, I've tried to tell them on Twitter, and you always get the same, hey, thank you so much for joining in. Appreciate that, DGX. You always get the same response, like it's a bot response that says, thank you for making us aware of this issue. We fixed that. So I don't know what to tell you guys. If you guys are content creators, it's frustrating to not get credit for the work that you're putting in. And it's frustrating as a viewer when I'm trying to give you all credit for it and you're not getting credit for it as well. You know? Anyways, how's my audio doing on this car video? You guys hearing me okay? Yeah, I've wondered that, Sarge. That's actually, I don't like to go into conspiracy theory too much, but that, it definitely makes you wonder, right? Are you guys hearing me okay? And I'm going to get into the topic now. Looks like we got about 5 people. Thank you. All right, so what do we do with the horde, right? And, a lot of people call preppers hoarders. We're not hoarders. We're just, we prepare, right? So like hey, digital prepper, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. And if you guys get a chance, some point during the video, if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that as well. Maybe YouTube won't take away the like. So sometimes people call preppers hoarders, right? Because like we think ahead, tend to have the toilet paper when everybody else doesn't have the toilet paper, and they think like we went out and bought shopping carts full, and that's really not the case. You all know we tend to buy extra a little bit at a time so that when a crisis happens, we've got food, we've got Titan Preparedness. No worries. Thank you so much for tuning in. We think ahead and we plan ahead, and so we have the stuff. So they call us hoarders. But what about the horde, right? So what about the horde? So the horde is like, if you guys know, if you have friends who know that you're into preparedness, you probably have heard at some point, well, when, I know where I'm going when the crap hits the fan, right? I mean, everybody's going to hear that at some point. So that's what I'm talking about today, and how are we going to manage this, right? So before we get into, like, I was at a Pew 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 show years ago in Kentucky, and there was some old timers talking about this, and basically their response was, well, I'm just going to sit at the top of my street with my Pew 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 and take care of every SOB that tries to walk down my street. Well, good luck with that. I mean, first of all, if you're probably not going to make it very long, and if you do, you're going to be facing prison when order is restored. So good luck with that. And it really is not an effective tactic. It really is not, because if January 6th taught the country and the world anything, it's that when 20,000 people start marching down your street, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop that, right? That's what video with a regular title takes 3 minutes total, including check time. I upload a 2-minute title. Yeah, some wonky stuff's going on there. But the reality is, like, if your plan is to just defend your property from the horde, that's not gonna work if it's more than a couple hundred people. Just look at the protests and the riots and things like that have gone in the past few years. Like, a couple hundred people, if they decide to infiltrate an area, can take that area, and there's not a whole lot, unless you're dealing with a really organized force that is capable of setting up, defensive perimeter. So that's just not going to be an effective tactic. So what are some other options? Well, so the first thing is I don't worry about it, because my thought on it is most people are not going to abandon their own property. If somebody gets to the point where they're coming to my house because they think I'm in a better situation than them, things have already gotten really bad, right? Like, things have already gotten to like Mad Max scenario. And so I always tell them, hey, if you can make it across the wasteland I could probably use the help, right? As a prepper, I'm going to take a whole different approach to what those old timers at the show were saying. I'm going to say I prepare that there's a possibility that some of my family and friends are going to show up, and so that's part of my preps. I take that into account, and they may not be getting, like we only have so much room, so you may be, if enough family or friends show up at my place, they're going to be sleeping on the floor, or maybe in the garage, or maybe I'm pitching a tent in the backyard, right? So don't assume that if you're watching this from the other standpoint and you're like a friend with a prepper, hey Rob, and your plan is, well, I'm just going to go to Uncle Bob's house. Uncle Bob may have 50 other people that are planning to show up there too, so you better come prepared. So what do I tell people? I say, well, all right, if you can make it, if it's that bad and you need to come to my place and you're a family or friend, first of all, I'm not going to turn away family or friend, and I'm probably not going to turn away the little old lady in my neighborhood, and I'm probably not going to turn away somebody that's got a little kid, right? What about the rest of them? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I have some solutions that are non-violent for that. I tell people, if you can make it to my house, there's some stuff you're going to want to be bringing, right? So if you've got a tent, you're probably going to need to be bringing a tent because you're probably going to be outside. You may need to be bringing some blankets, whatever you have for protection, and any medicines and whatever food you can carry. That's what I tell them to bring. If it's somebody who is a stranger, but they're in like a situation. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I also tell them, thank you, Digital Prepper. I also tell them, bring your gardening tools because I'm going to be putting you to use. Bring your defensive tools and bring your gardening tools because you're going to have a job. Everybody's going to have to work because I can produce some food. I can forage for quite a bit of food, but the more people that show up, the more hands need to be on deck for that kind of thing. So I also store some extra seeds, and and I scout out as part of like when I do my walks and things like that. I'm scouting out locations like, hey, if I had to do some guerrilla gardening, this seems to be an area that not too many people go in. Maybe I could plant some stuff here. Maybe especially I can plant some stuff here that people won't know that it's food, right? So if you plant a tomato plant, people know that it's food. What if I plant certain types of lettuce that they're not going to recognize, right? What if I plant a radish that grows underground? A lot of people don't know what the top of a radish looks like. A lot of people don't know what a green onion looks like. A lot of people don't know what a garlic looks like. So there's a lot of things that I can grow that people wouldn't, in guerrilla locations, that people won't know what it is, right? So you have to think outside the box a little bit like that. And the more people that you take in, the more mouths you're going to have to feed. Now, as I'm scouting locations, I might also be looking at, hey, if somebody shows up and I got no room for them, or they're a stranger, I can't really say if they're a good person or bad person, and I don't want them too close to me. Maybe I can say, hey, I can tell you where there's some safe places to stay. I can tell you where there's some fresh water. I can tell you where there's some abandoned buildings. You're going to have to clear it out if there's people in there, or you're going to have to make nice with the people who are in there. But I've already scouted out some locations. I'm willing to show you one of that, but you can't stay here. And if you try to stay here, there's going to be trouble, So that's another strategy where you can potentially avoid some violence. What if somebody's looking for food, right? Well, that's absolutely true, Sarge. And I'm going to talk about the city folk and what will happen when they push out, because that will happen. If things get bad, if things get that bad. Again, we're talking about like Fantasyland, Mad Max scenario, Red Dawn, like stuff that none of us want to happen, right? This is kind of not, I don't usually get into this kind of preparedness. I get into more of the more practical storm prep and stuff like that, but it's a fun topic for chat. So maybe I can grow a certain amount of food to feed a certain amount of people. But beyond that, like, and then we're looking at maybe I can teach some people, right? So I show them a location and say, hey, you might be able to grow some food here. I'm going to set you up with a little bit of starter crop here, right? And this is how you grow radishes, and this is how you grow garlic. And if you use it like this, you can keep growing it, because I believe in growing the kind of crops that you can keep producing year after year and even season after season to some extent. I can teach people where to find certain things in the forest that they can forage, right? So if a stranger shows up and they're hungry, I might say to them, hey, I can't feed you. I'll show you where some food is, and I'll show you how to find some food that you didn't know was there, but you can't come back. And if you do, there's going to be trouble, right? So there's ways that you can avoid an encounter. And when you understand the psychology of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, there are people who are prepared for violence. And that's one of those possibilities that preppers have to think about. But a lot of people, right, are just hungry. They want water, they want medicine, things like that. And if you can help them meet that need and get them a little bit more self-sufficient, you can avoid their need to go to violence. Aloha. Yeah, we're going to get to the city piece of it, Uncle Burpee, Uncle Yoga. It's good to see you. And I hope you had a good International Yoga Day, by the way. So there's some different ideas there. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this so far, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I see 5. I'd love to see it hit 11. I got 11 people in the chat right now. That's some thoughts. I'm a healer, folks. My entire career has been dedicated to healing people. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a police officer. I'm not capable of going to that as quickly as somebody who's had that kind of training, right? So if I can de-escalate a situation, that's going to be my go-to. Could it be my downfall down the road? Yeah, many people have told me that I'm a little bit too naive and a little bit too. What about Victor? What about recognizing them? Recognizing edibles by shape? Is that something that maybe you could get better with? Hey Jeff, it's good to see you. I hope this is giving people some ideas outside the box. It doesn't have to be forming a defensive perimeter around your neighborhood. It doesn't have to resort to violence. There's ways to deal with this. Sorry, I got a text in the background. There's ways to deal with this in a way that you can meet somebody's hierarchy of human needs, which is basically shelter, food, safety, water, and hopefully, for a lot of people, a lot of people are not looking for violence either, right? And you've probably had some personal encounters in your life where there's a misunderstanding and you've been able to talk your way out of it. Even in bad situations, right? Like Selko talked about in the collapse of the Soviet Union, right? It's not complete like warlords, Mad Max kind of situation. There's some semblance of order because most people want to have order. So there's, after a while, people set up systems for trading and bartering. People set up systems for helping each other out, And in terms of the medicine piece of it, right? This is why I also. So I like pine tree garden seeds for GMO seeds. And I usually, in most of my videos, I have a link for that where you can use I have a coupon code, but there's other companies as well. Thanks, Jeff. It does depend on how desperate. I think if a soccer mom, came down to that her kids were starving, she's going to do whatever it takes, including violence, to feed her kids. And I respect that. But I'm talking about giving people different options to de-escalate, right? So if they need food, let's help them figure out a way to get food that doesn't put me in danger, doesn't necessarily take away from my supply if we can help it. But yeah, everybody is capable. Everybody is capable of violence if it comes down to preservation of their life or their loved one's life, right? And we can't underestimate that. Thanks, Adrian and Nico. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, it's raining here, so I wanted to hit the trail. It was a no-go for me. All right, so let's talk about hiding the edibles. I'm going to get to the city piece of it. A couple people brought that up. So tomatoes, peppers, things like that. Like if I grow a garden full of those, everybody knows what they are. And people have said that in really bad situations, people may raid your garden, you know, in the middle of the night if you don't have somebody set up covering security. That's absolutely true. There's a lot of stuff planted in my yard that doesn't look like food, okay? And I've been showing you guys some of this stuff, right? Some of these plants, these wild edibles. Yep. Yeah, and that's operational security. You might want to have food that doesn't have to be cooked. I agree with that. And the stuff that I keep in my bug out bag and my get home bag is stuff that doesn't have to be cooked. I get that I'm taking a morale hit on that, because if you have warm food in a situation like that, it will boost your morale. It's a trade-off. But I've got stuff planted all around my property that is food that most people would never even recognize as food. Okay, so they may get in and get some of my tomatoes and peppers. They're not taking my entire food supply because they won't even know what it is. My wife doesn't even know what some of it is, and I keep trying to point it out to her, like, hey, remember that. That's important. That's, this is a medicinal plant. And that gets back to the medicinal piece of it too, right? Like, somebody's looking for medicine. Maybe there's some plants that we can teach them about. That's another one too, Lady Hammer. Yeah, I've heard that. Like, a different variation of that is we have a lot of homeless in the area. Yeah, the population, by the time people get to the point of trying to cross the wasteland, the population will be in a bad shape. Let me come back to that comment though about goodie bags, right? So that's another good suggestion. We have a lot of homeless in the area, and most people say in the area, don't give them money. So they may be asking, that's right, they may be asking you, do you have food? And then you hand them a bunch of fresh tomatoes, and guess what? Now they know that you've got a garden somewhere on the property, things like that. So you got to be careful about that. If you do decide to go that route, maybe you give them one can and say, that's all I can spare. I'm sorry, don't come back here. If you do, there's going to be trouble. So you're meeting the need, but you're also setting a limit. You're trying to draw that line to avoid that, potentially to avoid that conflict. And they may still come back, and then in which case, you're going to have to go to plan C, which is, are you able to defend yourself? The goodie bag thing, though, is interesting. So we have a lot of homeless people in the area, and generally most people in the area say, it's better to give them, a goodie bag full of like food and water, fresh fruit, things like that, than to give them cash, because not everybody that's houseless has a substance abuse problem, but some of them do. And if you do, you could be making that situation worse. Laying low is absolutely smart. Don't be, if I was going to, like, if I had such an abundant supply that I was willing to help strangers and tons of strangers, I wouldn't be doing it from my house. I'd probably, if there was a place where people were bartering, I might go and try to set up some bartering or something like that. Maybe somebody can bring me some batteries that I could use or something, ammunition, whatever. Let's move on to last piece here, and then I got to start thinking about getting back to work. So what happens when the city folk push out? And they will, right? So a lot of people have this myth. This is another prepper myth, is that if you live out in the rural areas, you're not going to have a problem. No, you're not going to have a problem at first, maybe, or you're not going to have as much of a problem. But when we have a hurricane here, category 2, 50%, 2 tankfuls from a big city. Yeah, that's probably smart, and a way to cache some fuel, or is there somebody on the route that's gonna help you resupply? People are going, when we have a hurricane here, 50% of the population evacuates, and we have seen, I can confirm this, every hotel in South Carolina will be booked, okay, when there's a hurricane, because everybody's pushing out away from the coast. Don't think for a second that if, like, there wasn't massive prolonged civil unrest or something else, that the city folk will not push out. They will, and it will be in large groups. And the hotels won't be able to take them. So guess what? They're going to start getting desperate and going out to residential areas. This is fantasy land, guys. We're talking like Red Dawn kind of situation. It's fantasy land, but it's fun to have these theoretical, hypothetical situations. So it will, hey, Urban Grandpa, it will take longer, you know, like that wouldn't happen right away. I can tell you that, you know, if there was, you know, like during the Charleston riots that we had last year, we didn't evacuate. That was only a couple miles from us. So people don't leave right away. They leave when it's gotten, when they believe like they have no other choice, right? That's when people start to move. And unfortunately, at that point, it's become more dangerous, right? But the idea that you'd be able to, if a horde, right? Think about, if you go and Google, after we're done with this video, go and Google like migrant caravan, okay, and just see different countries where people have tried to get off the X, to get away from a war zone, okay, and or refugee caravan, and look at the number of people. If you think your little neighborhood of 30 families can stop that, you're sadly mistaken. Imagine one of those migrant caravans of people desperate to get away from a situation, and only 10% of them are armed. Your neighborhood is not going to stop that, okay? So that's a myth. Again, we're in fantasy land. You can disagree with it because we've never seen this in the United States, so I don't know that I'm right and you're wrong. We're just speculating, and I'm telling you how I think something like that could go down. I hope you're all having a good day. A couple things I got going on the channel. There is no Friday night prepper pre-party show this Friday. I have a video on silver and gold coming, and I got some family business I got to handle. And then Tuesday there will not be. Next Tuesday there will be. Thank you, Urban Grandpa. Next Tuesday there will be a video released at this time because I'm trying to keep on the same time slots. It won't be a lunchtime chat. And then I'll be back live again the following Friday, which is for the Friday night prepper pre-party show, which I think is July 2nd. Okay, so I'll be live again then. But I've got 2 canned videos, 2 regular videos coming out, and I hope you guys enjoy them. I've been doing some precious metal stuff. I had kind of laid off on that, and those tend to be really popular for me. My precious metals videos do well. Thank you, Adrian and Nico. Please make sure you guys check out each other's channels. Lots of good people in the chat here today. Lots of, hey, Mad Stacker. Lots of good content creators. I hope you all have a good Tuesday. I hope you're enjoying your lunch period if you're on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, thank you for joining in for breakfast. I got to get back to work. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge, broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep in the heart of South Carolina. Yeah. Check out Mad Stacker's other channel, guys. Please go ahead and give him support. Thanks, Digital Prepper. I'll see you guys. I'll be back live next Friday. Not this Friday, the following Friday. Thanks, Sarge.